So for this one I used similar color, and the font size is 12 on this one. So I'm going to add it here on the paragraph. Now you can add it to every single paragraph. That becomes a pain sometimes. So I'm going to add it to the table cell. It won't affect the heading because the heading has its own style within. And now styles are cascading, which means you've got a style up top, whatever's below it, if it's the same style name, it will override the latest style, the top style. So in here I'm going to put in font size 12, and I'll choose color as the one I copied. If I go back to the browser, notice the body copy changed and the heading didn't because I have it preset already in line on that heading. And I'm going to copy this font family, and I'll paste it in here, and I'll save that and go back, and now this has the same font family that we used in here. The spacing is a little open, the line spacing is a little better on this one, a little tight on the browser, so we can fix that. And we can just do that right in here as well. And we'll just add in line height, and we'll do, let's just experiment a little. Let's try 6 pixels and see what that looks like. That's not enough, obviously. We'll do, actually I'm going to work in empiricals, so I'm going to do 1.3 EM, and refresh that. There we go, that's a little better. I want to find out exactly how wide this side nav is. So let's flip back to Photoshop, and let's grab our slice tool and just draw a box and find out the width of this, approximately 179, 180. Let's go back here and add that width to this cell. Now I added padding to 15, so we could put in a width of 180. However, if I go back to the browser, it's way more than 180, and that's because it's 180 plus another 30 pixels because of the padding. So I'll remove 30 pixels. And actually I have to set the width. I'm setting the width on the wrong one, I'm sorry. You can see this one's 150 and this one isn't. So let me just cut this out and add it to the site info instead. Put it right here on the cell. There we go. So that's now 150 pixels, 180 with the padding. You can see they're basically the same in width. So that's starting to come together. We'll add the registration button here. Let's go back to the editor. And in here we're going to have a link tag, which looks like this, a tag with a href, which is the reference to the URL, hyperlink reference. And close that, and I'll put in register. Now on this button I'm going to style it, and I'm going to have display block, which will let you click all over anywhere in the button. It'll blow it up. I'm going to set in a width, let's just jump in 100 for now, with a height of 30, and a background color. I'll have to grab that color. Let's get this green color. And the border here is an off-white, so I'll add in that color on a border of 1 pixel. It's a solid border, and it has a color of, I'll just put in true white for now. Let's flip back to the browser. You can see the dimensions are exactly right, so let's grab those dimensions, and I'm just going to take this slice and shrink it down. There we go. And it's about 150 by 45. So let's grab, this is going to be 150, and the height of this will be 45. And the text is going to be in the center. It's also going to be the color, I think I have this dark gray color. Let's grab that color. Go back to Dreamweaver, and we'll add that color in. Now it's at the top, we want to put in some padding. Instead of putting in a height, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put padding on the top and bottom. So I'll add, let's say, 15 pixels on the top and only on the bottom, not on the left and right because it's centered. And let's go back to the browser. It's a little better. And it's all in uppercase. It's Helvetica 17 is the font size. So let's change this to Register caps. We'll add in a font size of, let's go with 18. See, it's starting to take shape. And we'll add in a font family of Arial. And then I'll just delete that, so it's Helvetica. Great. Flip back to the editor. And I'm going to remove the underline from the link. You can see links generally just come pre-underlined unless you specify it. So I'll do that. And that looks like text decoration. And I'm going to put none. And that will remove the underline from there. So you can notice if I scroll over this button anywhere on this area, not just on the word, I can click and go to whichever URL I wanted to go to. Now that we've got that in place, we'll add in the copy underneath it. And to save some more time, I'm going to just copy this paragraph. And I'm going to paste it underneath the link 2 times, and I'm going to delete some of this copy, just chop it down a little. And actually, let me just replace this paragraph with that. There we go. And I'm going to grab the font size and color, toss it on here, change that to 12. See what that does, it's better. And we want this color as well. And notice I'm putting them on the cell because I wanted to put the same effect on every paragraph. And I don't want to put on individual ones, it's too much time. So, not exactly the same yet. Let's grab the actual color that these are. Switch the color, and I'm going to make this size 13. And then these paragraphs also have headings, which I just did like this. Heading 1, I put in a break tag, so it goes below that. And I'm going to just add in strong attributes to make them bold. And I'll do the same thing here. Actually, I'm going to write in heading 2. Flip back, and there we go, heading 2 and heading 2. This one doesn't have a break, so let me add that. And I'll also add in a line height of 1.3 as well. EM. There we go. So our email's starting to come together. Let's add in the title and the date. It's not exactly identical, but it's pretty close. You know, if we spend more time, we can get it to look exactly like it. But for now, this is pretty good. Let's go back to the editor, and we'll scroll up now, and we'll work on the header area. So, company title, and some people like to make graphics. Instead of actually typing in all this copy here, say, for example, if I switch this font and put in a drop shadow on it, and a very light drop shadow, doing off white, so it looks like it's kind of indented into the copy there. And I'll do the same thing with this one, and a drop shadow on that. And let's just say that this text isn't solid gray, but has somewhat of a gradient on it. Maybe the color is, I don't know, bright blue, you know, whatever you want to do with it. This now becomes a graphic. It's no longer text on the page. So what we want to do is save an image of this and implement that into the design. So I'm just going to grab a slice here, grab my slice tool, I'll draw out the image, I'll label this image, and we'll just call this heading. And then I'm going to save the image for web in Photoshop, file save for web. We'll open up, this is some editor that comes up. I'm going to select this image and I'm just going to toss it on my desktop for now. Great. Now let's go back here, and instead of having this title, I'm going to delete that title and I'm going to insert an image. Okay, refresh, and now that image is in place. So this is one way of doing it instead of actually typing out the copy. You can just dump that in and then play around with the padding. So we'll put in a little more padding on top, and I'll just say, 30 pixels from the top. And from the left, 15 pixels. One quick note to know about when you're adding padding and styles. I've got 4 numbers here, 30, 00, 15. The first one is padding from the top, padding from the right, padding from the bottom, padding from the left. So top, right, bottom, left is the order. Top, right, bottom, left. So from the top 30, from the left 15. Refresh. It stayed 15 from the original, and I pushed it down about 30, which is almost centered, so that looks pretty good. And then we'll just finally add in here the date. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to make a graphic, and I'm going to make this date a little more fancy. So I had pre-made this kind of cool little thing here, and we'll just move this copy up a little bit. That looks pretty good. And I'm going to just label this date, and I'm going to save again for web, just like I did before. Flip over my editor, and I'll just copy this image. I'll paste it in here and just change the heading to date. And let me find out the size of this. 138 by 117. So change that to 138 and change this to 117. See what that looks like. Now this one has padding on top, so that's being pushed. So to avoid that, we're going to remove the padding top, bottom, top, the left. From the right we want padding, from the bottom we want none, and from the left we want none. Refresh that. I caught a little bit of a white edge here, and I'm going to just go into Photoshop, zoom in real good, and see what happened here. And here you can see where it gets cut off. So I'm going to resave this and zoom out, and let's go back to the editor. That changes our height by 1 pixel. Go back here and refresh. So there you have it. There is a very, very basic HTML email. You've got your heading, you've got your date, some body copy, a button to go to a registration perhaps, and some other information. Now this might not look perfect once you put it into an email client, so there will be some testing, some bugs to fix. So there you have it. There's a very simple HTML email template. Again, you can create your own graphics and implement them into the email template by just inserting images. And make sure your images, I didn't do it in this case since I'm working all locally, but make sure your images are absolute links. You're going to have to upload them to a server and then point to those images. So you're going to have to need the exact URL to that image. So, http://yourdomainname.com/ maybe you have an images folder, and inside that image you have your image name. So you want to direct a direct URL to that image. So if there's any questions, please leave comments, and any feedback you want to give, please go ahead and do so. Thanks again.